All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Tuesday Night Live. This one a little bit later than normal. So thank you to everyone that is here right now. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. We're just gonna talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Next week I'm gonna have a guest on. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But yeah, wow. Already got more people here than I thought were going to show up at 9:45 Eastern time. I guess it's different times everywhere, though. So, yeah, let's roll the intro and we will get started here. Let's go. All right. And as always, if you're here watching live, drop in the chat where you're watching from. If you are watching this on replay, which I know a lot of you do, and a lot of you commented on last week's video saying that you watched the replay, drop in the comments where you are watching from. We always do that here on the show. We always like to see where everyone is in this big world that we have. So let's see who's here. CK Hiker's here. What's up? Miguel, welcome back. Heyo. Miguel was saying that I remember your comment from last week saying you missed a couple weeks, but you're back. Thanks for stopping by. Michael Powell, hello from Brownstown, Indiana. Aaron Townsend, hello all South Texas. Glad to be here on the special late night with Ryan episode. Yeah. So yeah, the reason why we're late tonight is because so I think I've mentioned a couple times that I do like several different jobs. I have a regular full-time day job where I work at Purdue University, and then I also do like contracted audio work, live sound stuff at my church, and this week is Easter coming up, so we have extra like rehearsals and different times, different days of the week. So we had like a pretty in-depth like technical run-through rehearsal tonight, and it ended. I just got home, took a shower, and now we're on the live show. So glad to be here. A little late this week. Next week though we'll be on time, and I'm gonna be joined by my good friend Matt Cantrell, who just ran the Barkley marathons. One marathon. He did one loop. Michael Powell, but yeah, great job at OPSF 50K. Thank you, man. Awesome seeing you at the start line. Likewise. Can't wait to see your video on the race. Yeah. Hopefully, I honestly haven't even like reviewed the footage, because as soon as I got home, it was just like the full gas trying to get these two A6 videos done. So yeah, hopefully you guys like those. Plus33, hey from Illinois, congrats on your killer OPSF. Thanks. We'll talk about that. Alex Ball said, I started a podcast that we record live, but how do you get that countdown and run the intro? Oh, awesome. So the software I use is called Ecamm Live, and it's great. It's a subscription service though, which is the one major downer. Like it's like you can't just buy the software and own it forever. You have to continually pay monthly to use it. But once you have it, you can load in like all sorts of different scenes. So everything I have, like I've got a bunch of scenes and we just like go through them throughout the show. But that intro is a video. It's actually all footage that I shot like out in Washington when I was filming the Bigfoot 200. And then the countdown is just like a graphic that I put on top of it. And it's actually like a real countdown. It's like built into Ecamm Live. So that's cool. Good luck, Alex. Sarah, oh, hi from San Francisco. Congratulations on your race. Amazing job. Thank you so much. Kelly's here from Fargo. Nicholas is here from State College, Pennsylvania. Awesome. Alex Ball, GVL, South Carolina. Justin, Tulsa, Oklahoma, watching. Parker is here from Fargo. Well, there's a couple of you from Fargo. You guys need to connect. Laura, Kansas City. Desto Besser watching from Atlanta, Georgia. Fernando, Chicago in the house. Joel Walters, Seattle, Washington. And we got Russell House in the house. Easton, Pennsylvania, as usual. Not sure how late I'll be on since I'm up at 6, but I thought I'd drop by. Great job killing it, OPSF. Thanks, man. Yeah. And Russell, awesome job at the Georgia Death Race this weekend. That happened on Saturday as well. Chris Smith, if you need any footage of OPS, course, or mud, I have plenty that you can have. Whoa, really? That's awesome. Chris, like, that'd be awesome. Send me a DM or something on Instagram or Twitter. We should connect. That'd be awesome. Michael says, hey, Ryan, been a few weeks for me, but back. Awesome. Loved your A6 edits that you did. Thank you. Aaron Townsend says, you crush OPSF. How did this race feel with all the extra vert that you've done compared to previous races? Yeah, so why don't we just jump into that? It seems like the topic of the night. I ran a 50K trail race on Saturday, a couple days ago. It's called the OPSF 50K. It's stands for Owen Putnam State Forest. It kind of like, yeah. So it's a 14-mile loop, pretty much. It's kind of like it's like a lollipop design. Like there's a trail that kind of snakes up and you go north a little bit and then you go in a loop, come back to meet up with the base of the lollipop, and you can go back to the start finish. And so you kind of like, there's a couple loops throughout the race, but it was really fun, like really, really muddy. Gosh, like that, like that's the headline of this race, is just super muddy, because most of the trails, there are some single track, but most of it is horse trail. And if you've never run on horse trails before, you should, because it's an experience. They're wider than normal, but they have, like, horses are on them all the time. And horses, their hooves go in like 6 to 12 inches into the mud. And so, like, if you just so happen to run on these trails, like in the springtime when it's been raining quite a bit, it's going to just be like just a mess. And that's what this was. So you guys will see some of it in the video. But yeah, I had a really good taper. I was really happy with my taper. I got to the point on Friday where I felt like I was just getting kind of like depressed, and I was like, this is like, you know, like what, like, why am I tapering so much? Like, I just felt like I felt like I was way too rested. I felt like I had lost fitness. I felt like I was just not motivated, really. Then I got to the race. Actually was planning on driving down the night before, staying in a hotel so that the morning could be like super relaxing. But work was just insane on Friday, and I wasn't able to stop working until like 6 or 6:30, which typically I end at 5. And so at that point it was like I was already like later than I wanted to be. So I ended up just, and there was actually still stuff I had to do later that night. So I just stayed home and drove down in the morning, which isn't too bad. It was like a 2-hour drive, and the race started at 9. So wasn't too bad. Just had to wake up a little bit earlier than I had planned on. But got down there like 30 minutes before the race start. And I wish I would have gotten there earlier, though, because I forgot how difficult it is to park at most trail races. Like, just slipped my mind. So I was probably towards the end of the people that arrived because I had to park like probably a mile down the road off the side of the road, because they just, like, the parking lot had filled up, and then they were just parking people on the road. And there's probably, I don't know, like maybe 100 people, 150 people there to race. And then plus you had like family and friends and stuff. I think there's like 75 to 100 people. I don't know exactly. Probably about 75 to 100 people in the 50K, and then a bunch of people doing a 14-miler that they had as well. But yeah, just before the race, I was just like, we'll see what happens. Like, I feel like I can go hard. I feel like I can really push it. But I've also never really done that in an ultra. I've never just kind of like pushed to see like what my potential is. I've always, like I have a lot of experience racing really hard in triathlons and, like short, like road races and stuff like that. Or short trail races. But I've never actually like just gone, like I said, like kind of like hard the whole time in an ultra. And so this was the first chance that I really have had kind of to do that. And it's just like, I don't know exactly, like just probably like a product of like different like types of training. Like I've never really had like a 50K that was like my A race or anything like that, or perfect timing before a 50 miler or a 100 miler to where I felt like I could go really hard and then still have enough time to recover. But the timing was just right. My training had been really great the last couple weeks, and so I was just like, let's go for it. So my friend John was there, and he always goes hard from the beginning. So I was like, I'll just stick with him for a while, see what happens. And so we went out, and we were, I just went out with the lead pack, and it like pretty quickly narrowed down to about probably 10 people. And like right from the start, it was just like a blast, because like I've never done that before. I've always kind of held back and just kind of like stuck to, and just, tried to have a good day, tried to get through it. But this race, it was just like, let's go for it. So I was lead pack, and then it kind of like spread out over the first couple hills, like maybe 2 miles into it. We were down to about maybe like 4 or 5 people, and I was in third place for probably like 20 miles. And then right around the 20-mile mark, well, like pretty much the whole time, there was always like 2 or 3 guys like I could always see like right behind me, like maybe 20 to 30 yards behind me. Just kind of like, they were just kind of like yo-yoing back and forth, and we would kind of like catch up to each other at an aid station, then I would get out of there first, but then like 5 seconds later they would come too. So we were basically like in a pack. The first 2 guys were way ahead. And then right around the 20-mile mark, I started having just some like, it just started getting really hard. And my pace slowed down just a little bit, and a couple guys passed me. But then once I kind of like fell back to 6th place, I held that for the rest of the race and came in finishing 6th place, which was just, it was wild. Like I've never, just never had that experience at an ultra before. But it was it was fun. Like it was really, really fun. Like actually feeling like I was kind of like racing a couple guys. Met up with, was able to like meet a couple of you guys there, which was really fun as well. But then like after the race, like, so the race started, it was like 45 degrees. So everyone was like, it was just like a little chilly, standing around, t-shirt and shorts and stuff. But then like by the end of the race, it was in the mid 70s, and my car was sitting in the sun. And so when I got in my car, the thermometer inside my Jeep said it was like 86 degrees. So it got hot throughout the day, and I ended up, I felt like I was drinking a lot. But the drive home, it was a 2-hour drive home, I drank over 100 ounces of water. Just kept chugging these LaCroix we had. I had a big cooler full of LaCroix, and just was like chugging it. And I think I had like 6 of those and like 2 bottles of Gatorade on the way home. And then still, by the time I got home, I just had this like monster headache. So I was really dehydrated. But there was no way that I could have drank more during the race. I don't feel like, because there was a couple points where I started getting kind of like that sloshy stomach feeling, because I was chugging bottles of water in between each aid station as I was going. So I don't know. We'll see. Like that's just something that I'm going to have to address for Cruel Jewel. Cruel Jewel, is in 7 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. But I'm going to be running I'm going to be running a lot slower during Cruel Jewel, because that's just, that's just how it's going to go. I'm going to be a lot slower. So won't have to worry about some of the things I was worrying about during this 50K. But yeah, it was great. Had a lot of fun, and really felt like I was able to kind of like see like maybe like what my potential could be like moving forward if I keep like racing, like and actually going into these races like fit and trying to run hard. But then like the last couple days, so after ultras, a lot of times I will actually feel like I'm getting sick, but I'm like not actually sick. So right now, the last like yesterday and today, I've like kind of like felt like I've had like a chest cold, or like runny nose, but it's just like it comes and goes throughout the day. Like right now, like my voice probably sounds a little bit different, but it's just because like I think it's just like my immune system like thinking it's under attack, and it like goes into overdrive, and weird things happen the couple days after a race. So let's see, what are people saying in the comments? And yeah, by the way, if you have questions or whatever, like this is you guys' show, like ask away. If you have shoe questions, race questions, training questions, whatever you got. Plas33 says, loving your shoe reviews, intros, and music. The lightsabers are killer. Yeah, thanks, man. Briston Rain says, Ryan Clayton, I remember when you were only getting 60 views a video. You've come a long way. Awesome. Yeah, Briston, I recognize you've been around for a while. You've been a subscriber for a long time. Thank you. Richard says, Northeast Oregon, not snowing today. Yeah, I'm glad it's not snowing for you. Like, hopefully we're past the snow. Hopefully. Chase the Summit Dave is in the house. Ryan, you're too fast for a running YouTuber. That's not true. I could be a lot faster. Also, there's a lot of fast people out there. Like, I was just watching. I caught like 5 seconds of Seth's live stream today because he got, a bunch of people. ASICS sent out shoes to a bunch of people. But he got these Metaspeed Sky shoes that I also got. That are those carbon fiber shoes. And he was talking about how he was like, yeah, I was like hovering in between like 5-minute, 5:15 pace. And I was just like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. That would be really fun to run that fast. But I could probably run that fast for about like 8 seconds if a bear was chasing me. But Nicholas Bodner says, I've got a backyard race coming up. Thoughts on strategy for it? So backyard, that's fun. Like, I've done one, and a lot of people have questions about like what good strategies for that is. And I think that you kind of just have to play every round like as its own little race and recovery session. That's my advice I would give. Typically, these are set up to be like 4.1 or 4.15 mile loops, something like that. And you've got 1 hour to complete it, and you have to start each loop on the hour. So that's kind of how I would say, the first couple, you're going to want to run them fast and then come back and have extra time. Like you can, depending on how much vert there is on the loop, like it's not unreasonable to run a 4-mile loop in 35 or 40 minutes, and then come back and have a long time to sit down and just drink stuff and eat. But what I would say is that try to pace yourself from the beginning and try to have some sort of like consistent rhythm throughout it. If you, so like if you're shoot for like, just throw a number out there, like 45 minutes, shoot for 45 minutes and then do that for like the first 3 or 4 loops. And then if you find that that's working, just keep with it. And then you're eventually going to kind of slow down as you get deeper and deeper into it. And like, if you start getting towards like 40 or 50 miles, after that, like maybe you're going to get to the point where it's like, oh, what's up? Kelly Canas, new member. Thanks. That's awesome. Thank you, Kelly, for becoming a new member. That's awesome. If you guys don't know, that is the best way to support me and what I'm doing here on YouTube in a financial way. Pretty soon we're going to have like merch and stuff that you guys can buy, which will be fun. Yeah, right now, I mean, like AdSense pays a little bit. But like memberships, it's like I do that instead of Patreon. So just so people know, there's a little join button down below. But yeah, so going back to Nicholas' question about backyard strategy, I was just trying to stay consistent, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're fueling properly, and then yeah, definitely don't go out too fast though. That's a big thing, because sitting for 20 or 30 minutes is not going to be good long term for that race. Eric says, what shoes did you pick for OPSF? Multiple pairs. Good question. I forgot to say that. I wore the Hoka Torrents, and I wore them the whole time, and they worked out fine. I was skeptical about their grip in mud, but once I got about 100 yards into this race, I realized that it doesn't matter like what shoes I'm wearing. I just need to be semi-comfortable in them, because I think they could have been like 3-inch cleats and they still wouldn't have done much. So yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't take a risk and go with the Salomon Wildcross that were less comfortable, but more grip, because there was just like, there was nothing out there except pure, like just like wet mud, because it rained for 2 days beforehand. So the good thing was that it wasn't that mud that's like almost dry, that's like kind of like molding clay. That stuff is the worst kind of mud, because that cakes to the bottom of your shoe, and then all of a sudden your shoe becomes like 15 pounds. There was some of that out there, like certain parts, like on the tops of hills and stuff, where the water had drained out. There was sort of like some of that type of mud that got really clumpy, but most of it was like, your feet were just soaked the whole day and muddy and never running on anything resembling flat ground because it was all like horse trails. And so your foot would go in, and like 5 steps in a row would go 6 inches underwater into horse print. And then the next one, you'd put your foot where you thought you were going to go, and then it would like slide like a foot to the left, and your body would spin. And there was one point where I thought I hurt myself, because I was going down this really steep descent, and one of my feet just started sliding, and then I got sideways, and one foot got stuck and was staying on the hill, and the other foot was sliding down, and I was doing the splits, and I thought I was injured, but I wasn't. Let's see here. Ultra Dad, what's up? Hey man, congrats at OPSF. At that pace, you'll finish Cruel Jewel twice before I get my buckle. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, if there was any way on this planet Earth that I could run that pace for Cruel Jewel, I could be done in like 15 hours. But that's not happening. Joel says, you mentioned water sloshing in your stomach during the race and drinking 100 ounces of water on the ride home. How much sodium did you take during the race and on the ride home? Yeah, I need to check my gels. That's one thing. I need to do my homework on my gels better, because that's one thing that I realized mid-race. I was like, shoot, I'm not focusing on, because I didn't bring any salt pills. Normally I bring them for 100 milers, and I can kind of manage it that way. But I didn't bring any for this race. I brought 10 gels, and I knew I was going to fill up water on the race course. And I ended up having 9 gels throughout the course of the 30 miles. And it was like perfect. Great fueling. Spring Energy. I think all the flavor, all of them were Canterbury. So Chase, your sick voice is a better radio voice. Great. Thanks. Thanks for the encouragement. Sarah O says, how was your nutrition during the 50K? Anything you would have done differently? Oh, funny you asked that. I just answered that accidentally. Yeah, I had 9 gels. So I didn't set a timer on my watch or anything. Honestly, like I had kind of meant to, but forgot, and then got to the race and didn't have very much time to get ready because of how far away I had to park. So I just tried to watch the timer on my watch, and pretty much every like 30 to 40 minutes is when I was like, okay, whenever I get a good chance in the next like 10 minutes, I'm going to take a gel. I usually tried to take them when I was going uphill, just because you slow down a little bit and your stomach isn't like bouncing around as much. And also it was safer to do that because you had to be laser focused during this race on where you were putting your feet. If you looked, that's the other thing that was kind of sad, because like this race has some really good views of ridges and like rock formations here and there. And I didn't see any of it. It was, all I saw was the 10 feet of trail in front of me for 30 miles. So anything I would have done differently is probably, it probably would have to do with sodium. Like I need to figure that out. And then Joel, to finish up answering your question, on the ride home, I had 2 bottles of Gatorade. So those have quite a bit of sodium in them. And then I had a couple bags of those, like the chips, like the little bags that you put in like lunches or whatever. Like they had those at the race, so I just grabbed like 3 of them and took them for the ride home. Alfredo Ramirez says, what's up, Ryan? I have my first ultra race coming up in May. It's an 8-hour race and it's a 3-mile loop. Do as many loops as possible. Thoughts on how to tackle this? Slow and steady or be more aggressive? 8-hour, 3-mile loop. Yeah, I would just say pace yourself for 8 hours. So yeah, that's kind of hard because in an ultra, you don't want to think about how long it is. But for a race like that, you kind of do need to, like, well, with any ultra race, you kind of have to go in with an expectation of what can I reasonably hold for this race. Because you're not going to, I mean, unless you're really, really experienced and you know what you're doing, then you can take a lot of chances. And a lot of people do, and that's when you see people start running like a lot faster times, is when people start taking chances, like when they're really experienced, when they know what they're doing. But if you're just starting out, I would say just like run easy for a while, get to about the 20-mile mark, and then make your decisions there, and start saying, okay, like, I'm at 20 miles and I'm feeling amazing. So at that point, you might want to just keep doing what you're doing, or you might want to maybe push it a little bit. Or if at 20 miles you thought you were going easy, but you're starting to get pretty wrecked, that's when you just pull it back a little bit. So I would say start off easy, get to somewhere around that 20, 25 mile mark, and start making your decisions at that point. But yeah, 3-mile loop, that'll be fun because you can come back to your aid station. So you maybe carry a handheld water bottle. I don't know. I probably wouldn't even wear a pack on something like that. 'Cause you can, every time you come back, you can just like grab a gel or grab some food. So you probably don't need to carry much. Maybe a water bottle. Christmas says, I wore the same shoes and socks for the entire OPSF. After the race, I heard people saying that they changed socks every time they saw aid station 5 times. Oh yeah. So, okay, yeah, I wore the same pair of socks, same pair of shoes. And the Hoka Torrents, I actually, this is like really funny. But I was thinking about, like, at one point, like 20 miles in, I was like, would it be worth it to change into the Solomon Wildcross? Because I had those at the aid station that we passed like 5 times on this looped course. Never did, but I thought, would it be worth it to change into them? But I'm glad I didn't, because after the race, when I got back to my car and tried to take my shoes off, there was so much mud caked in to the laces and in between the tongue and the upper of the shoe that it was hard to untie. But then once I did get it untied, I was literally looking for my pocket knife to cut the laces because they wouldn't even move through the eye holes. Like, it was so bad. And like, I'm sitting there in the back of my Jeep, I'm cramping, I'm trying to untie my shoes. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't even get my shoes off because they were so tight, like around the ankle, because they had to be so that the mud didn't rip the shoes off. But yeah, I couldn't pull them off. I couldn't untie them. I was looking for my pocket knife, and then finally I was able to like start loosening it. I poured water on them. Yeah, it was just like, it was a mess. It was such a crazy race, with all the mud. But yeah, I can't imagine, changing socks that many times, because at a certain point, like it becomes just simply wasted time, because in 50 feet, you're going to put your feet right back into mud. But that is a strategy that you can use during races like 100 milers or something, when you're going to be out there for 25, 30 hours. Changing shoes and socks is actually good, even if you're just going to get wet again in certain situations, because it does allow a little bit of time for your feet to air out, like while you're changing. And then it is like, there is just like a moral boost that comes with changing shoes and socks. So in a really long race, there is some argument to be made to change shoes and socks, even if they're going to get wet again. But what's happening actually physically with your feet, it's like, it almost doesn't matter a lot of times. And especially at this race, the amount of time that it would take to change shoes and socks in a 50K is, that's a lot. But some people are out there for like 9 or 10 hours. So maybe. Chase, I keep wanting to call you Chase when I'm reading this, Dave. By the way, I get weird voice after races for a few days too. I think it has something to do with gels. Oh, interesting. Maybe. Never thought about that. I think for me, it's just my body is like so run down, because I was wrecked. I was seriously wrecked after this race. I went really hard. Aaron says, oh, you're replying to somebody. My perspective, I did 9-loop training run on a backyard ultra in 3 weeks. Feel like you would 9 hours into a race. Not what you feel like at 37 miles into a race. Yeah. Joviat says, hopefully I'm saying that right, says, just found your channel last week. Excited to be here and binge watch a ton of your videos. Great work and high quality. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Don't go too far back though. They get really embarrassing the farther back you go. Michael Powell says, hey, Chris Smith, anyway, I could have some of your footage for the course. Nice. Justin says, do you think you will ever do Blood Rock? Or if you have, I must have missed it. I don't think I'm assuming that's a race. I don't think I've heard of that. Let me know what it is. Sounds cool. But all right, guys, what else I want to talk about? There was a couple other things I want to talk about. But I am going to keep this one kind of short. Like, I don't know. Like, usually we go an hour. But since I'm starting so late, we'll see. There's a lot of you here tonight, which is awesome. Let me know what questions you have. I did want to talk about, so a lot of people were asking questions about these two shoes, Asics Magic Speed and Asics Meta Speed Sky. Yeah, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have about those. But a lot of the questions were about like the Magic Speed, like how it complements Nova Blast, and I think it's a really good shoe. In fact, I just ran in it again today, which was my first run back after I took 2 days off, which is kind of sad because I have so I was keeping track of my run streak on my phone, and I got up to 111 days, and then I stopped it. So, yeah, I just knew it. Like, last year I did a really long one, got almost to a full year, and this year I know it's going to end anyway after Cruel Jewel, in like 6 or 7 weeks. So I just took 2 days off to make sure I was being good to my body, and then ended up that it started doing all these weird like trying to defend itself things and thinking I'm sick and stuff. Yeah. Joviat says, just started training running myself here in Utah. Done any races out here? No, I haven't actually ran any races, but I did go out and film the Moab 240, which was awesome. And yeah, that, and I mean, I loved it out there. It was like, I would really like to go back and do, if there's like a cool like 100-miler out there or something, that'd be really cool. Moab's just a really cool area. I really loved it a lot. Let's see here. Logan says, hey Ryan, DNF'd my trail half marathon this past weekend. Oh, bummer. Rolled my ankle and had to stop by mile 9. Shoot. Yeah. I couldn't finish, but glad I knew when to stop. Recommendations on ankle strengthening rehab. Yeah, so I had, if you guys don't know, a couple, was it like, yeah, it was almost 2 years ago now. I had a pretty bad ankle injury. I tore some cartilage in my ankle, at mile 82 of the Mohican 100, and had to stop that race. DNF'd after, I think I made it. My watch had also stopped by that point. So I don't know exactly how far I made it, but it was like right before the mile 82 aid station. And then I went like a mile past it. But yeah, it was bad. So I don't know, like I would recommend, I mean, if your ankle's really bad, go get it checked out. But if you can walk around and stuff and you are making your own decisions, I would say like strengthening exercises. Like I did a lot of to like rehab mine, where you kind of sit with your leg like crossed over. And then I had like a band, where I was just like, was moving my ankle left and right, with, some resistance on it, and then up and down with resistance. And then, once it got like strong enough, to do that, I was like leg raises, like kind of just like when you're, standing on the ground and you just like go up on your toes, back up and down, and then on a stair, and then it progressed to like leaning on a wall, so your ankle is kind of flexed at an angle and going up and down. So yeah, just do really easy stuff, and it's all obvious stuff like with your ankle, because your ankle can move like 360 degrees kind of, and so you just kind of got to hit all areas. But yeah, if you're experiencing pain more than a couple days out, I would definitely go get that checked out. And physical therapy can really help speed that process, that recovery process up too. Sorry to hear that, man, though. Evan says, question related to shoes, but not about the shoes. Okay. How much do you think viewers should weigh individual reviewers' opinions on the shoes? What makes a review influential over another? That's a great question. I think like everyone comes to review videos for different reasons. Some people are there literally just for entertainment. Like they just want to see what stuff looks like. They maybe aren't even ever interested in buying the product, but maybe they think the host is cool. Or they like, certain aspects of, okay, so for example, MBK HD. So sometimes I get the letters mixed up. MBK HD, Marquez Brownlee. I will never buy 99% of the stuff that he reviews on his channel, but I watch every single video because I like him and the production value is so high, and it's just like it's really great. But I'm not in the market for a new cell phone. Like, I'm just going to get the new iPhone every year, you know, or whatever, a lot of stuff he reviews. Like, I'm just not in the market for it. But I like him as a person, as far as like how he portrays himself on YouTube. And I like the style of his videos. Others, you know, like if I'm actually looking for a specific product, I might search YouTube, because YouTube is a search engine. It's owned by Google, so there's a lot of people that come to review videos because they're searching specifically for that. They want to see, you know, if they watch 4 or 5 videos and all of them are really positive, then, you know, you're probably more inclined to buy that thing, or at least check it out more. But if they're all like negative or kind of like half and half, so some people are coming for information. And yeah, so, I mean, how much should you weigh individual reviewers? Like, I think if you only watch one reviewer, like, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend watching a lot. You know, but if you really, really agree with everything that a single person has said, then maybe you'll be safe, like listening to their recommendations and everything. But I know for a while, like, I watched just, you know, like years ago, before, like, we're talking like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I wouldn't buy a shoe until, you know, I watched a review from Ginger on it. And then, you know, I would try and find a couple other people that were reviewing it too, and see if like, I agreed or disagreed, like after I got it. But yeah, I would recommend watching a lot of different people. I think the other thing you have to watch out for is, bias in reviews. Because I'm not talking about like people that, like, I think a lot of like shoe reviewers, I think a lot of the like really popular ones are super legit. You know, like a lot of the like trail running personalities that are on YouTube, I think I think for the most part, most of them seem legit. I'm talking about like there's a lot of like tech reviewers out there that there's a lot of people out there that are not honest with their reviews. Like, they're getting paid, or they're getting a product for free, or and there's some sort of incentive behind the scenes that they're not being honest about. And so I think in that situation, like, you just got to be careful with like if like who you believe, who you watch. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, the market is changing a lot, with like over the last couple of years of social media. I mean, Instagram, I mean, companies dump so much money into Instagram, just to get products on people, just to get shoes on people's feet, clothes on people. Like, it's just crazy. And YouTube is starting to happen a lot like that too. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's a tough question. But I think you should just watch a lot of reviews and just kind of like then distill your information from that. Caleb says, do you know the men's size 9 weight of the Magic Speed? Light enough for road 5K or 10K racing? Not off the top of my head. But I believe size 9 is kind of the standard that is published. So I think if you go to like Running Warehouse or even maybe asics.com, you can probably, I think size 9 in men's is what they publish the weight on. But that's a good question. Like, someone made a comment on the video about how, so like I have been putting the weight of my size 11 and a half in the videos. But I might start also putting like and I don't know, it's kind of a tough decision. I don't know, but I might start putting like men's and women's, like size 9, like the standard sizes in there as well. I just don't want to start putting so much information into these videos that it just becomes like just a wash. But yeah, it's a good point. Let's see. Joviat says, also lots of questions here. Yeah, no problem, man. That's what we're here for. Do you learn to run through foot pain? Is all foot pain just a temporary thing? I guess, how do you know if you should stop or not? Yeah, so after a while, like the more experienced you become of a runner, you'll know whether something is, like you'll have started to feel it all. Like for me, I used to be really, really worried about blisters. And if I started getting a blister, like I would just, I would get like really nervous, and it would start to consume my thoughts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this blister is going to end my race. I think a lot of that actually came from a really like popular trail running podcast, Trail Runner Nation. Like they used to always talk about how blisters can end your race and everything. And so I just like, as a young trail runner, like, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, like I just like, that kind of just like stuck in my head. And they would say it a lot. But yeah, I just always used to worry about blisters. But then like I started, like doing more and more like 100-milers. Like you get a blister, and if you can take care of it, you take care of it. If not, like it'll take care of itself, and then eventually it'll just go numb. And like, that's fine. Like you can get through your race. So that's been my experience, like with some of that kind of stuff, is like eventually like whatever's hurting, like maybe it'll just go numb and you'll be good. I don't know. That's not good advice though. But yeah, certain things like that, dealing with like foot pain, like if it's a blister, I don't really worry about it anymore. Like cause I know how to prep my feet in a way that I can set them up for having the best chance of getting through a race, without too many problems. Like, so I've, at a certain point, like I've felt like I've dialed in whatever shoes I'm going to wear for that race, based off of the terrain, the type of climbing or flat, what type of paces I'm going to be running, like what type of comfort level I'm going to need. Like, does it need to be max cushion, or can I go a little bit less? So I've kind of like dialed that in. And then I've picked a pair of socks I'm going to wear. Like recently what's been working really well is exoskin socks, which I'm not like affiliated with them at all, but they just work for me. They're toe socks, and they just work. And then I also know certain spots of where to tape on my feet. So if it's a 100-miler, like I'm going to tape like kind of along the back of my heel, because a lot of times, if there's a lot of climbing uphill and downhill, the back of my heel can develop a blister or two. And then that can get really painful. The heel can be a really bad one. So I tape it, and that usually helps quite a bit. Also, just like certain spots, I just put a little tape on them. And then I know that I've put myself in the best position possible for me. And then at that point, if I start getting a blister during a race or something, I just kind of run through it, and eventually it stops hurting until I get into an aid station and stop, and it starts hurting again. And you just go through that cycle. But different types of pain you do need to be careful with. If you can identify that it's actually like nerve pain or something more serious, like hopefully not, but like maybe like something is broken or something. Like, I mean, if you can identify something like that, like those are definitely things that you should probably stop, because that can be something long term. Like nerve pain can take days, weeks, months, if you do develop something like that during a race. And that has happened to me during Run Rabbit Run, like mile 90. It was like something I'd never felt before. It actually felt like my foot had split down the middle. And it happened on my left foot, and I stopped and like sat on a rock, and I was with my pacer, and I was like, I gotta I got to take my shoe off and look at what happened, because I think I might have just stepped on like some like barbed wire that went straight through my foot or something like that. There's nothing, like couldn't see anything. So I'm like, this is really weird. So I put my shoe back on and everything. But it was like every step, it just felt like there was a knife going straight through my foot. And then about 5 minutes later, same thing happened to my right foot. And the last 10 miles of that race were just absolutely excruciating. And if you know that race, you also know that the last 6 miles are downhill, down a ski slope, basically. I mean, it's switchbacks downhill for like 6 miles. A little up and down, but mostly downhill. And so it was such a painful experience. At that point, I wasn't going to stop. I was going to keep going, but that nerve pain did last for about a week, almost 2 weeks, off and on. Like it was the worst. Like getting up in the morning, like I would have to just really ease myself into walking around the house. But like if something like that came on at like mile 20 or 30 in a race, and I could recognize that, I'd be done. Like, so there's certain things that you just do need to stop, take a step back, and realize that, longevity in the sport is more important than any one race. So I would say just keep running, keep experiencing everything you can experience, and gain that knowledge, gain that experience, and then you'll be able to make really wise decisions. Yeah, let's see. What do we got here? Miguel says, how's the IT band treating you these days? Ever since I first strained mine, rolling it out pre-post run has been a miracle for limiting any discomfort. Yeah. That, like, I've seemed to be able to work mine out. Like it doesn't give me any issues anymore, thankfully. But the way I got rid of it was like rolling out, my glute, the IT band, calf, like the whole chain. You got to take care of the chain. Sean Moore says, hey Ryan, Atlanta in the house. First time watching the live show. What's up? How did you get into running ultras? Were you always a long distance runner? Great videos. Nice. That's a good question. I don't talk about that very often anymore. So I wasn't always a distance runner. No. I played soccer for like 15 years, all the way through high school. And then I played club soccer in college. And then in college I was running some, but it was always just like running to be able to play soccer better. And I don't even think I did any races. Like I run a running race. Like it just never like really crossed my mind. Really, even all through college. And then after college, I took a couple years off any type of sports. And then got back into it because a friend asked if I wanted to do a triathlon. And at first I was like, no way. That sounds awful. First of all, what's in it? And then, yeah, it sounds awful. But then I thought about it for a couple days and ended up thinking, well, how bad could it actually be? So that's how I got into endurance sports. So I did my first triathlon. It was a sprint triathlon. And so what that is, it was like, I think it was like a 400-yard swim through a lake, which when we were standing on the shore looking at the buoys out there, it was like, oh my gosh, like that is so short. Like I could walk that distance in like 3 seconds. And then you get out there and you start swimming and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. So that was my first triathlon. I had like, just like a road bike, and the run was 3 miles, 5K at the end. And I thought I had done the craziest endurance event on the planet Earth, when it was over. But obviously, kept doing them, and did probably like 3 or 4 years of just triathlons. Got to a point where I was doing like 10 plus races a year. Like I would start off, do a bunch of sprints like in the spring, and then a couple Olympics, and then half Ironman or two. And then 2000, I think 19, no, I don't remember what a year was, but anyway, I ended up doing a full Ironman. And at the same time, around that year, I was kind of getting into watching a lot more YouTube trail running videos. And I'll always say this. I mean, Ginger Runner was one of the ones. And then also Jamil, just those two guys, videos that they were putting out probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, just really got me into exploring ultras, and did my first 50 miler. Thought that was the craziest thing ever. But then also was like, okay, but these guys are doing 100 milers too. So yeah, eventually signed up for my first 100 miler, which was the Grindstone 100, which was the worst decision ever. It was picked purely because I started my training kind of late that year, and I wanted to do a race in the fall. And nothing was really lining up that looked interesting to me. But this race looked like crazy. Like it looked awesome. So I did the Grindstone 100 as my first 100 miler. And then I did the Run Rabbit Run 100 as my second 100 miler. And then the year after that had a really difficult year. I was trying to do multiple hundreds, and that's when I actually ended up getting hurt. And then it's taken kind of a couple years to get back to where I feel like I'm actually like in a good spot again. 2020 was actually really great for my fitness. Started working from home at that point, and was able to just save a lot of time, not commuting anymore. And was just really blessed by the situation I was in with my job, and was able to start putting a little bit more time into actually training properly, and also YouTube, and then did No Business last year, and that was really great. And this year, we'll see. Like it could be a nightmare with Cruel Jewel, but we're going for it. We're gonna try it, and then see what happens this summer. Maybe another 100 miler in the summer, and then Indiana Trail 100 in the fall, which I'm really, really excited about that race, because that race has always, like, it's only like a 2-hour drive from me. It's the closest 100 miler to my house, and I've never done it. I volunteered at it a few times, but never actually had the opportunity to do it. I really wanted to do it last year, and was planning on it. But then early on in the year, no, it's not last year, 2 years ago. Early on in the year, I was talking to Rob from Training for Ultra, and we kind of like linked up, and I was filming him at his races, and the Moab 240 was actually on the same weekend as the IT 100. So 2019 was supposed to be the first year I did that race, but couldn't do it. But yeah, good question. Thanks for asking. Ultra Dad says, your recent vid intros are really premium. Thanks, man. Well done. Are you using your kids' Star Wars toy lightsabers? Sure, it's some fancy light, but that's what came to mind. Yeah. No, they're not toys. They're actually real, like, production lights. Yeah, they're really cool. Thank you, though. Thank you for that compliment. Michael says, hey, Ryan, have you ever thought about starting a podcast? Yeah, I actually have one. It's just called, oh yeah, Miguel chimed in. It's called the Ryan Clayton Podcast. It's so original. But yeah, that's honestly one of the things that it's back when I started it a couple years ago. I was doing it. I was in a pretty good groove for a couple months, doing like one a week. And it was, a lot of it was just kind of like what I'm doing here on this live show. I was just kind of like talking about my training and talking about different races and different topics. I love it. Like, I love doing podcasts. And I really wanted to get more into interviewing people, but did a couple. And then really where it kind of started to not have as much attention paid to it was when I started doing these live shows. Because this was kind of like that time and that energy that I was putting into that. Like, I don't have infinite time and energy. Like, it has to come from somewhere if I start something new. So I started this new live show, and we've done it every Tuesday night for almost a year. I think next week is the 1 year mark. That's why I still wanted to come on tonight, even though we were starting late. Holy cow, we've already gone an hour. You guys are awesome. But yeah, so the podcast, like, I did like start uploading. I started repurposing these live shows, and put them on the podcast. And I think people did like that, but I also thought that it was like kind of just like hard to follow. Like, I listened back to one of them and I was just like, I don't know. So I've stopped repurposing these just like solo live shows on the podcast. But whenever I interview someone on a live show, I do put it to the podcast as well. So next week, when we're talking about all about the Barkley Marathons with Matt Cantrell, that one will be on the podcast for sure. Let's see here. Shannon says, "Hey Ryan, so running instead of sleeping overnight doesn't appeal to me, but I love running longer distances. Did you ever have the same sentiment?" Yeah, I assume you're talking about like 100 milers where you have to run through the night. Yeah, it pretty much has like zero interest in it. I don't like, I used to like do like some training, like during, like leading up to like Grindstone and Run Rabbit Run. I would do some training, like at night. Like, I did this one session where I started at like 8 p.m. and I went until like 2 a.m. one night, before a big 100 miler. And I got some useful training out of it, I felt, but I really hadn't. Oh, what's up? Aaron Townsend, super chat, $10. Thank you so much. Thanks for toughing it out tonight. Let's see what. Sorry. Thanks for toughing it out tonight when you were under the weather. We really appreciate the effort you put into your channel. Get that merch ready. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yeah. So back to Sharon's question, running at night. I found that once you do it once, you kind of got it figured out. It's really not that hard. Get a good headlamp, get a decent one that's not just like a small spot. That's where I think a lot of people kind of mess up. Oh my gosh, another super chat just came in. What's up, Jovia? $5. Thanks for the great content. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome tonight. Oh my gosh. But yeah, a lot of people make the mistake and skimp on the headlamp, and they get a cheap one because they're like, I'm only gonna need it for like 6 or 7 hours at night, and I don't want to spend like spending $100 on a headlamp or $150 on a headlamp is like, that just sounds totally unreasonable. And I get it, like, that's a lot of money, and you're only going to use it a few times. Or I mean, you could use it at home, like walking through your house at night. Like, you could get a lot of use out of it. But for actual running, like, you're only going to use it during 100 milers or like maybe the beginning of a race, in certain situations. But I would get a good one. The one I have is the, oh geez, I can't remember. Petzl. It's made by Petzl. Man, if you watch my no business video, I talk about what kind it is there. I talk about the model there. I think I also have it in the Amazon store that is linked down below. But yeah, I think it was like 90 or $100 or something like that. But it's a good one, and it's got a really wide beam, and it lasts really long. It can be really bright. But I would get a decent one with a big wide beam, because when you're staring at a small spot, that's when you start to have problems with like depth perception. You start to have like tunnel vision is a real thing running through the night, and that can really mess with you. I've gone through it before and made it out totally fine. Like one time I had a headlamp that it was kind of malfunctioning, and so for a whole night during I think it was Run Rabbit Run, actually, the only setting that would work was the lowest brightness. And so it was like some people couldn't even tell that I had a headlamp on. But it was just barely bright enough to like show what was in front of me. But that was really rough. So get a good one, nice bright wide beam, and you won't have any problems with seeing. And depth perception gets a little bit weird when you have a headlamp on, because when the light source is coming from so close to your eye, you don't see shadows very well. I've never had a major problem with that, and I've done a lot of really rocky technical races. Some people can't handle it though, and they need like a waist belt light as well, which that will cast different types of shadows, and you'll have a lot better depth perception that way. But just test out, just do like one night where you run for like an hour or two at night if you're actually worried about your 100-miler. And once you do it once, like you got the hang of it. The thing, staying up all night is hard, but in a race, like there's a lot of people around, everyone's doing the same thing. You're kind of like, you have this sense of camaraderie, like you're getting aid station to aid station, you're getting food, drink, stuff like that. I find the hardest point though is the last couple hours right before the sun comes up, because you've kind of been at it for a while and you're really tired. But yeah, I hope I answered your question. Yeah, I think I did. I don't have a whole lot of excitement running through the night, but it is fun during a race. All right, see you. Answer a couple more questions and then we'll wrap this thing up. Jameson says, how crucial do you think nutrition is in races shorter than ultras? Ran my first marathon last Saturday and had severe cramps at mile 24. Was able to finish it out, but curious what you'd say. Yeah, still real important. Oh my gosh, I just saw it. I haven't I'll wait for the animation to pop up here, Graham. But thank you guys. Oh, there it is. Graham, thank you so much. Toronto, Canada, checking in. Better late than never, I guess. Congrats on the OPSF finish. Thank you so much. Gosh, you guys are awesome. Where were we? Oh yeah, Jameson, how crucial do you think nutrition is in shorter races? So yeah, still crucial, because your body, once you get past an hour of running in kind of like that higher, like zone 3 or zone 4, that's when you need to start considering fueling. And so definitely we're talking marathons. For a lot of people, half marathons. A half marathon, maybe just think about taking like one gel or something, like maybe that'll get you through. But a marathon, a lot of people are going like 4 to 5 hours. In that situation, like, yeah, you do need to consider your nutrition, because especially if you're in that zone 3, zone 4 heart rate zone, you're burning like glucose that needs to be replaced in order to continue at an effort at that level. If you're running really easy, like zone 1, zone 2, like you're not going to have that need. It's not going to be as prevalent. But your body doesn't just burn one type of fuel. It burns it all. It just, at the same time, it burns, but it burns a different different intensities, it burns a little bit differently. So like you can go out and you can run in zone 2 for 7 or 8 hours and probably not really need a whole lot to keep going. You might feel better if you take a couple gels, but if you're in that zone 1, zone 2, like you're burning your fuel just a little bit differently. But yeah, if you're racing, consider like just working on a nutrition plan, like kind of like ahead of time, practicing it, getting some gels that are good on your stomach or whatever type of, if it's, I mean, like shot blocks, like any type of like, even like gummy bears could work for some people. Like I know people that do a lot of different stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have to be specifically like gels or something. Like you can figure out what's going to work for you. But practice it and get really good at it, get your stomach used to it. So, but yeah, anything past an hour in like zone 3 or up, like you really need to address it. Let's see here. Joel says, thanks for another Tuesday Night Live show. Awesome. Petzl React is a good one for night running on trails. That might be the one I have. I don't remember. Actually, it's like right over here. I could look at it, but there we go. Ultra Dad for the win. Swift RL. That's what it is. I recognize that's the name. So if you look up Petzl Swift RL, that's it. Thanks, man. And then it says successful night running equals buddy, a headlamp, and caffeine pills. Yeah. Caffeine pills help too. Christmas says, I don't want to just come on your channel and promote my new channel. Is it okay if I share a link to my really bad OPSF video? If anything, it will show how much better your video is. Yeah, sure. Share away. That's awesome. Shannon says, I will look for that video and thanks for the suggestion. Haven't even thought about a great headlamp making the overnight more tolerable. Yeah, it'll make a big difference. Jovia, last question for me. Do you know any type of diabetic ultra runners? I am type 1 and blood sugar drops a ton when running and would need to find out how to run ultras. Yeah, I can't give you any advice there. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think, but I don't know anyone that I can direct you to. I'm trying to think about even in any like nutrition, like, experts that are out there that kind of have like social media or like YouTube or podcasts. Yeah, it's not ringing a bell, but there are people out there, that can help you with that for sure. I'm just not as smart as them. Lambo says, thanks for the show, bro. Thanks. Chris says, be nice. I'm just learning the tools. Yeah, no problem. Justin says, thanks for taking the time to do this. I really enjoy your insight. Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's where I'm going to end it. I'm running out of steam right now. I need to stop talking. My voice is about to go out. But thank you guys so much for joining. I didn't want to miss it. So with that said, check back in a couple days. We'll probably have another video, maybe OPSF race overview video. And then I also have some other exciting shoe stuff going on. I've got some other shoes that, again, are under embargo, but are releasing soon, that I'm working on testing out. So it's happening, guys. Like I just, like December, January, I said, I want to branch out from Ultra. I want to start trying other stuff. Started making some videos, started putting some effort into it. And now, like brands are actually coming to me, which is exciting. But it all has to do with you guys. Honestly, like if you guys weren't here, watching the videos and just getting excited about stuff, none of it would really happen. But stay tuned for all that. Yeah, I'm really excited with where things are going with this channel this year. Got some big races. I'm trying to keep the balance of like talking about like the products and shoes and stuff that I use, balance that out with like my training. these live shows, running race videos, stuff like that. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. That's it. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.